So this is step number 2 of the 5 steps of Bodhicitta, according to Manjursri. I believe it's called exchanging self for others, but let's not get caught up in the title because sometimes exchanging self for others can be misunderstood. The example would be as like, oh, I have to be somebody else. No, I guess the best example is the Native American tradition of put yourself in another person's moccasins or walk in another person's shoes. That's what it means to exchange yourself for others. Be empathetic and say, oh, well, this is what's going on for you. Anyway, but I'm off topic just a teeny bit. So we're step 2, which is the disadvantages of being egocentric. Now, it's really important to understand that the steps are to help you appreciate like what's the real causes for happiness, but it's in the pathway of, well, arriving at having a heart of bodhicitta, that may I be beneficial? May I, in my relationship with my family, my friends, the people at work, with just life, with the planet Earth, may I be beneficial? That's what it means to be a bodhisattva. And it's not just just a sort of like, oh, I'm gonna sacrifice myself for everybody. No, it's I'm going to be intelligent and I'm going to do what seems to be most appropriate with others. So anyway, in regards to then step number 2, it's the disadvantages of the being egocentric. And I remember I translated for a Sakyapa Lama for 18 years when I lived in Canada. And basically he always just said, just think of an egocentric person and think of someone who's not, and you have all of the logic you need, So what's an egocentric person? So, let's just say you show up and you say, oh, look at this great shirt I just got, and I got it at a really good sale. It was like at 20% off. And an egocentric person doesn't say, oh, great. They say, oh, yeah, that is great. But hey, I was over here and I got it for 50% off. So they didn't hear you. They were in a competition. And that's what it means to be egocentric, is that you always reify things from your perspective. You're never really conscious of the other person. So that other person got 20% off. Why not just say, hey, that's great, And then maybe if you wanted to, because you've got a good heart and you want them to be thinking, it's like, hey, sometimes check out that other site because, or that other store, because they sometimes have really good sales. So you didn't get competitive. You actually got helpful. So that's one example. And I mean, again, there's this, you can take that to apply everything. Like when you talk to somebody, how do they reply? Do they turn around and just say, well, I got a better price over here, or, oh, I got a better cost for my gasoline at that gas station, or whatever. It's always like that. They sort of look at you and they sort of want to say, well, how I did better than that. So that's a disadvantage of being egocentric, is that like, now, of course, the other side is, again, I already gave the example, is that when someone says something and let's say you have a friend who's beneficial, and you say, hey, look, I got this shirt at 20% off. And then they say, oh, that's a nice shirt. You look really handsome, cognizing you. And then the second thing they say is, but hey, check out that other store over there, because they have sometimes good deals, and that way then you're totally, you rejoiced in what they did, and you gave them some good information. So if you have friends like that, or, again, like let's say you're having a bit of trouble and, you ask some friends to help you, and some of them, they're very available. That's because they are not so, caught up in being egocentric and stuff. Sure, they have their own, agendas and their own sort of priorities and stuff, but maybe they can fit you in. So if you think of the people that are really, supportive of you and give you good stuff, and you say, yeah, those are my friends, I mean, yes, we can have some egocentric friends. I mean, it's fine. I mean, they can be really nice people in other ways, but just if they're always sort of coming from an egocentric position, then sometimes it gets a little bit boring, they always want to talk about themselves. They never really heard anything you had to say. And it's not a judgment. It's just saying, whoa, I mean, I guess it is a judgment, but they call it discriminating awareness. That, oh, I recognize that's sometimes talking about myself. I remember the nun, it's a Jetson Trentensing Palmo, who's a friend of mine. We're close. We lived in India at the same time. Really, I mean, unbelievably, I think just such a special woman. Did 12 years of retreat in a cave, not continuously, but over 12 years with actually Vajrayogini. Actually, she was Kargyupa, not even, I think she was Drigun Kargyu, not even Karma Kargyu. And yet her main practice was Sakyapa. She shared that. She says, how funny, I mean, was it don't do Bodhicitta. Anyway, Dujum, no, I forget the name of the lemma she had. Anyway, but off topic a bit. But she said, look at how often you have the sentence I in what you're saying. I this, blah, blah, blah. I that, blah, blah, blah. And it sometimes can be an indicator of just how much you are really just always very much caught up in yourself, which is fine. I mean, hey, we have desires, we have things we want, but do we need to put a lot of emphasis on that? So just there's little tricks you can do. But the main thing is, if you find somebody who's very egocentric, it's very easy to say or to see the disadvantages of it in the sense of, is that what I would like to be? It's all just about me and about nobody else. That's step number 2. It's not so complicated, okay? So that concludes this. Hope you have fun with it. Take good care and goodbye.